Hey, welcome to another special episode of The Hills Have Nerds. It's going to be a little bit shorter episode, but we are graced by two wonderful people, Mr. Bob Bartels, Mr. Bob Bartels, and Miss Lynn Bartels, with the co-proprietors and co-owners of the Guardtower here in Columbus that we are coming to you visually from in their wonderful studio. We got James over there in the corner. You can't see him, but he's with us. And it's me, Josh, Cody,
Hello.
Aaron,
Oh yeah.
and Lee.
Hey.
We have, if you're viewing us, if you're watching us, you'll know that normally our podcast is purely audio, but Lynn and Bob were nice enough to have us come down and offer their studio to us to do a little bit of a video component to our stuff. And so if you see us look up this way like we're staring into the eyes of God, it's because there's a TV right up here in front of us.
We're fascinated and not fancy enough to normally do.
And as you've gotten used to with the Hills Have Nerds over this past year, nothing but professionalism from the boys. And did we introduce you, Lee?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Maybe.
He said that.
Yeah. I know we did. All right. So that is where we're at, and Bob and Lynn were nice enough to sit down with us, and we want to talk about their friendly local game store. We want to talk about them and their history with nerddom, their history with FLGSs, just their history. And they've been kind of through that. So, Bob, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Bob Bartels, teacher in my 44th year. God save us all. And I am really here responsible for community. So I'm the one who's trying to get people into play, because we figure if people come into play, they'll buy. We have, I think, competitors in town who get really jerky about people who shop elsewhere. And we don't care, because it is always, since we began, our contention that hobbyists will shop everywhere. So our goal is to have the best selection and what people want.
Lynn, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lynn Bartels. My background's in marketing. I was a teacher for a little while. And really right now I just run the Guardtower, and I'm the business part of this. So if you have questions about our taxes, you need to come in. If you have a question about games, you definitely need to go to Bob's.
We pay taxes.
Somebody about that. A lot of
Tell you we pay taxes.
If anybody asks, the answer is always yes.
all of them, all the taxes, whatever you want.
But we do truly believe that. We believe that all gamers shop everywhere. And the truth is we just like to get them to come to us first and to have what they want when they get there. And the truth is that the more game stores, the more gamers. So we are very supportive. We send people, if we don't have what people want, we will call up someone near us and see if we feel it's something they carry, and we'll send you on over there. We'll call them, see if they have it, and send you over, including some of the comic book stores in town. Pack Rat Comics is right down the street.
By all means, give a shout out to anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Laughing Ogres, another place we send people, because we carry no comics. But there are sometimes crossover and people call, and that's what they want, and we just send them over.
Well, that's awesome. That's fantastic. That's Nathan, our local game store. That's what he believes. He believes in everybody's going to shop everywhere and getting the best they can, and just growing in the hobby and then growing the community.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I like that. If you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, so it's like just be good to them, and hopefully they'll show up with you, right?
Exactly.
Be good to them, provide them a good place to be. It's nice.
I don't think you want to be known as the game store that is just the turds to deal with, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be like those people.
You want to know who they are? No, I'm just
Organized race. By all means, name names. Let us know. Who do we avoid? Who has scorned you personally?
Let's pour
That's a different thing entirely.
Hey, let them go. Where are the bodies buried, Bob?
We can find a notebook. But let's start here.
Hills Have Nerds, in-depth reporting. We're getting to them. So, tell us a little bit of the background of the store. How we create the store, or your all's background in gaming, or let's go with the store. So, what's the history of the store?
We're the oldest store in Columbus. The store itself has been in business for 40 years. Well, almost 40 years. 40 years as of August 1st. Lemonade Incorporated has been around longer than that. So we had a special needs son, and we needed money. I mean, his medical bills, we took him home from the hospital, and his medical bill at that time was more than Bob made before taxes. And so we needed help. Bob wanted to go to conventions. He had a principal who was very, very understanding, allowed him to take a laminator from the school.
You want me to tell the story?
So go ahead.
I'll tell the story. So I'm playing these war games,
Yes.
with the half-inch counters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing them, and then we got a laminator at school. It's a press laminator. You put it down, and I was 2/3 of the way through my collection because my principal said I could do that. And then the bell rang, and I was halfway through this map, and we had an 8. She said, "Well, I'll finish for you." And my principal saw that. He just kind of went nuts, and he said, "You may not use the laminator anymore." And I'm like, "But I need it. I'm not done." So
I went to work at the Brown Derby as a waitress at night. Remember, I took over from the girl down the street.
Yep.
And our first laminator cost us $347. I just know because that's what was my limit. And then once we got there, I can't remember how much, but I quit in August. And you had a laminator to take with you. And we got the actual plastic with it.
So I'm going to conventions. I'm meeting all the people in the industry. I joined Gamma. Nobody was doing laminating at that point. You can't walk down a downtown area probably without tripping over laminators now, but then nobody was doing laminating, so it was a whole new thing. People got really excited about it, and I was laminating maps for people, and in about 7 years, it was 1987, we said, okay, we got a bunch of friends together and said, let's open a store. We again had no cash, but we did have the equity in the business. So we tied our equity into the business, and they put in some money, and we opened up a store, and we did no business.
It took a while.
There was a time when we were wondering what we'd gotten ourselves into. The first February, which would have been 88, the first February of that year, we did $800 in business for the month. And if we did $800 in business today, just for a day, it would be horrendous. It would be really bad. But, we were paying one person then to work in the store, and we were both, I think, working in the store.
Manager, yeah. Pete.
We just, we kept at it. People kept coming.
Now,
We still have people who lived in Columbus their whole lives come and say, "I never heard about this place before."
So our first year we made $42,000 for the entire year. And this comes easily to me because when we applied for our loan to buy this building, I had to get all our information home. And I was amazed at how much of it was handwritten. And I think so was the bank. But,
Probably.
yes, but luckily, because it was so old, they were,
Yeah.
it didn't really mean anything. But we did $42,000 the first year. We had a manager, Peter Bush, and he did. We had Friday. I remember February was terrible, but we had other times that did well. Our opening day, though, so Bob's being rather modest. When he used to go to the conventions, he was one of the good old boys. I mean, everybody knew Bob because he laminated all their maps. And we used to joke all the time because in the convention, you'd go around and try and see if you could get a game when the new releases. So Bob had them so well trained, they used to come over and drop them and say, "Oh, here's Bob's copy. Here's Bob's copy." Everybody brought him stuff. So, but it was great. And he used to go to dinner with some of the big guys there. We had quite a few people, most of which are gone now, I'm sorry to say, but they have, they knew about us and they knew about our situation. So when we went to open a store and Bob let them all know, all of a sudden all these boxes started to arrive. We had very limited money as to what we could buy. And a lot of that went into our rent and into fixtures. We went and bought a bunch of secondhand fixtures. But then the boxes started to show up from Alpartha and Mayfair Games. And they sent us... Pardon?
Iron Crown Enterprises.
Iron Crown Enterprises. I mean, they all sent us one of everything they made, and every bill said the same thing. It gave us a bill, said, "Pay us when you can. This is for Scotty. Pay us when you can." And that would have never happened had Bob not been there for all these conventions all this time, making all these friends. And he was, if you were new, he was happy to take you and introduce you to the big guys and take you to dinner with them, so that sort of thing. And in the end, that's sort of what we gave really came back to us. We would have never had the amount to open the store with what we did have. And
Wouldn't have been much.
No, it wouldn't have, but we were also the very first store to have a game room. To my knowledge, the very first store to have a game room in Ohio. I don't know about anywhere else, but that was one of the reasons they wanted to start a game store, because you can only have your dining room table covered with games so much of the time before your partner says, "Hey, you have to play somewhere else," or your children pick up and move your counters around, which can be another problem. So
that's a stern thing we have in our house, is that the games are not for children.
So because of this, it really did help us. And so one of the reasons I think we're always have been willing to lend a helping hand to others. So, and Scotty's 43 years old.
Yeah, he is.
Soon to be 44. Doing well in this building, this company, both our East and West store, are here to support him. That's the reason we started it. And this will then eventually, when we step away, be run by our youngest son. And he will make sure that the money that's made goes to make sure Scotty is taken care of.
That's awesome.
So.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what brought you guys into the gaming sphere? Like, when did you, Bob, start gaming, and when, Lynn, did you start? Did you start when you met Bob? Or did you have a history of it beforehand, or what?
We were married before she played her first game.
Okay.
I was on my way to visit my sister who lived in Rochester, and I stopped in Erie at some mall in Pennsylvania, and I went in, and it was it had to have been a KB Toys. And
How old were you around this time? What year?
Huh?
What year was it?
This would have been 77 or 78. Okay. And I went in and I saw this game called Kingmaker, and I've always been interested in the Wars of the Roses from Avalon Hill. And I said, well, I got to get this. So I did. And it was really cool. So I had to get another one, and then I had to get another one, and I had to get another one. And pretty soon I had 8 or 10 games and could run a gamut from ancient times to, I didn't have any modern, to World War II at that point.
Yeah. So that was your first just foray into gaming? Was you read read about the War of the Roses and then saw the game for it?
Saw the game and yep, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it took in.
Yep. By the way, that game is very good as far as an explanation. There's others out there that are new, but that one is really.
I don't think cool. I've heard of it a lot, but I don't think I've ever played it. What's the premise of it?
It's card based, and you're trying to have the last pretender to the throne, and all the others are going to be dead. So, however many players there are, they're going to run and grab different heirs, Yorkist and Lancastrian, and then you can be sometime allies, and then you can screw people over.
I love that.
Yeah, it is an element of screw your neighbor in there.
Anytime I can make Aaron lose, I don't want to win. I just want Aaron to lose.
Friends like that.
Early game
Are you really friends? I think. Frenemies.
That's what we call
There are cards. There are 26 different noble houses, and you get control of the noble houses, and they have the counters on the board. But the cards can have, they can be made earls and counts of various parts of England, and they can have extra troops and so on and so forth. So you take this noble and this noble and this noble in one stack, and you attack the other guy, whatever stack he's got. And they're plagues and Plague at Shrewsbury. I've got friends who still cringe when they hear that.
So you got those games, and that kind of got you into gaming as a whole. And then where did the addiction go after that?
It just expanded.
It just gets worse.
Yeah.
It's only up from there.
So we were married in 78. In about 80 or 81, we had some friends who invited us to play D&D, and I thought, well, D&D, I'm a war gamer. I can't do that.
These nerds.
She said she would play, and we weren't having that much time because I spent all my time wargaming. So we went and we played, and we had a lot of fun, and we kept playing. And
what was your first character?
My first character was a half elf. His
This
name,
is like Red Box,
he's an
old school D&D,
elf.
right?
Yeah. It might have been. I think so.
Yeah.
Actually, I know it was.
It had to be.
His guy's my character's name was Snork Smith. There was a little human in the woodpile. Yeah, that was him.
What about you, Lynn? What was your first character?
Oh, I have no idea.
Whatever, Bob, babe.
Give me a thief. I don't remember. I went through a number of different characters, but I've only ever played one more game, Kingmaker.
Yeah.
Can't remember a thing about it, but I remember that I played it. I remember thinking, oh my God, do we have another chart or something like that?
Spreadsheet simulator.
But it was great because for birthdays or Christmas, I always knew that I could go out and get he'd always have a game he wanted, and that it made it very easy. But it really didn't. He did say, well, let's go play D&D. We can take Scotty with us, which at that time, of course.
It was 1980 because Scotty was an infant.
Yes, he was. And we took him in a carrier, and he went with us. And it actually was a lot of fun. I do know that when I went there, I thought, what am I getting myself into? But actually, we had a great time. And we played with that group for years and years and years. And in fact, part of that group is a group that up until just a couple years ago, I still play with. Some of those people were still, we've added some, lost some. And they used to play till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
We were dumb.
Wow.
Yeah, we started 7 at night,
Yep.
and we'd play till 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And sometimes
I've had some crazy gaming nuts like that.
right?
Yeah.
And I'd be teaching all day, and then we'd go and game, and about 1 or 2, I would have to go out and lay down on the couch for an hour or so, and then come back and finish up. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we did that. And then the infamous incident with the laminator, had that machine, and then I started going to cons, and the first thing that ever let me know that I was joining a fraternity that was kind of exclusive. Rich Banner, who's a name you guys might not know, but he was one of the owners of Game Designers Workshop. Mm-hmm. Frank Chadwick was the lead guy, but he and Mark Miller, who designed Traveler, and Rich Banner did the art. He brought over some games. He said, we're not producing these anymore. He gave me like 5 or 6 games, and just here, you take these. And I'm like, how much do you want for them? He says, I don't want anything. And I'm like, but this was that first summer. So that was very cool. And I went to Gen Con that year and shared a booth with, it's kind of like like Lynn said, the whole industry really did take care of us.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was definitely a good old boy industry.
It still is. I'm just not one of them anymore.
We have aged out. What can I say?
Pretty much.
But
Paved the way for the young pups.
Hey, that's right. Yeah. Well, and he was the laminator. Everybody knew the laminator. They were like,
the laminator.
It's not the laminator. So, but yeah.
The laminator.
It's a superhero film.
Steve Jackson came to my booth one year. This would have been the late 80s, early 90s.
The Steve Jackson of Munchkin.
Yeah, Steve Jackson Games. Yeah,
Yeah.
he came to me and he gave me a Illuminati.
I got that game on my shelf at the house.
Yeah, the Illuminati sticker. He said, "Put this on your machine. You're the eliminator."
The laminating.
Nice.
Bob came to me when he was going to convey. He came with the whole idea of laminating and said, "Hey, I could pay my way through here, and it will make us extra money to pay for Scott, so that we can." And this was before I was gaming, and so that's when we tried it out. And he went to. Well, no, I guess I was gaming then because we lived over on the east side. So when I was already playing D&D.
By that time, yeah.
By that time. But yeah, so he went and he said, I think I can make money at this. And he tried, and it did. It brought us some money. I mean, back then, $300 or $400, that was a lot of money. We could pay a lot of bills. So, and we did do that. But that's when I went and worked at the Brown Derby as a waitress so we could buy our own laminating machine and our own, all the plastic. And it worked out really well. And I remember getting it was red. Had red on the sides. So, and we burnt through that. I
did
can't
another
remember.
one.
It's another one.
So what do you guys do with the laminating side of the business now? Is that
Nothing.
something you don't do?
It's just it's Guardtower Shield Laminating DBA, the Guardtower,
Okay.
doing business as. So the Shield Laminating owns the Guardtower. Shield Laminating owns the building.
Should know Guardtower Properties, which is solely owned by Shield Laminating, owns the building.
So yes, we've got our tendrils everywhere.
Yeah. Well, we did laminating.
How deep does this go, Bob? How deep does it go, Lynn?
Look at the shell company.
This deep.
Where's the money at, Lynn? Where's it at?
In a hole in the bank.
That's right. In the parking lot.
An expose on the guard tower.
I think we're doing aggressive.
We wanted the
We originally started out laminating. Then we made the little counter magnets that
Dungeon Squares first.
Dungeon Squares, yes, Dungeon Squares, which we just printed and laminated. And no shit. I mean, it was so. And we sold those through distributors, and then we did the little
Magnets.
counter magnets. We sold those, including to the government. They used them. So then we went and started the Guardtower, which became a much more overwhelming. However, during that time, we also started putting out little counterpoints for the vampire game and stuff like that. A couple little game piece type things. But the truth is that the store itself is much more time consuming. So that's really where we ended up concentrating instead of actually, trying to produce and manufacture. And this is sort of where we are now.
On the creative side, in the late 80s, we were licensed by FASA to make personnel files for Battletech.
Okay.
You can still find those sometimes, and it's kind of funny to see them. We did that for a couple years, and then in 1990, we produced a role-playing game for Shield Games.
Cycle.
Again, another tendril. That one did well. We wound up with 7 books, but we just didn't have the time to keep it up.
What was the game?
It was a fantasy role-playing game,
Called Fifth Cycle.
5th Cycle.
What's the premise?
The premise is you're an archaeological company that's licensed by whatever lord or king or wherever you are, and you're going into 3rd cycle sites, and which is very high magic, and you are searching them for artifacts to bring back and sell. Anybody who's a real archaeologist today would just cringe to hear this, but that was the premise. That was the premise.
Indiana Jones be damned.
Yeah, right. So
So,
did that. I actually won an award.
Nice.
I won a Wolfie the one year they did Wolfie Awards.
well, yeah.
White Wolf, the original producers of Vampire. Now it probably had nothing to do with the fact that we were producing the blood points for them for their game,
Tendrils, Bob.
but I tied actually for the award for winning the award with Gary Gygax.
Oh,
And they brought me this little stuffed wolf.
that's cute.
That was my award.
You still have it?
No. I have no idea where that sucker is. But yeah, by the time we were done, we were able with our pre-orders to pay for the printing, and then we would have stuff left. It was kind of like 1990s version of Kickstarter, but again, there was no time. I'm still teaching full time. I'm still working at the Guardtower. Lynn is working, taking care of Scott, particularly around 93 when he was really sick, was very much a full-time job. So, so that was where her efforts lay. So I had one year where I went to 30 some cons around. I was in Cincinnati. I was on the East Coast. I was as far west as
Texas.
Wisconsin for Gen Con because Gen Con was there. And then over the years was in at Origins when Origins traveled. I was in California. I was in Texas. I was in Atlanta. I was again on the East Coast with Origins. So yeah, all kinds of fun stuff.
So
Yes, it was quite a bit. So, but we did really well. I mean that we always took all the profits and put them right back into the company, and we took the profits from those that we made, and we put it into the company and moved our location to a bigger location. So we doubled the size of the guard tower itself.
1,800 to 3,600.
Yeah. So it was really, but it was fun. I remember getting the phone call from the people at FASA. We sent them their personnel files, and in the personnel file was a little, you put on your name badge, and there was a little sticker you put on it that did radiation levels. And if it turned orange, the oranger it turned, the more radiation you had. So they immediately called me, and they all had their stickers on. They wanted to know if they put them real close to the computers, would they start to change? I'm like, if they do, I would suggest you throw those computers out. But they were just thrilled. It was, and we went to Gen Con that year. We released we had the personnel files, but we released Fifth Cycle. It was the very same Gen Con that they were releasing GURPS, so we outsold GURPS in that Gen Con.
Wow.
So we literally outsold them, and it was actually I don't know, wonderful to walk down a hallway and see all these people that just bought our books. They bought the main book, and we had 2 or 3 little
The main book, we had the screen, we had Out of the Dark.
Out of the Dark, but we had something else, Skeleton, or maybe that was but you could see them in the hallways, and you realize that they're playing, because that used to happen a lot at Gen Con. Yeah. People would all meet in the hallway to play, because at the time they didn't have big playing areas, and you'd be walking by and realize, oh my God, they're playing Fifth Cycle. So.
Now, did you guys do all of the writing and come up with the system?
I wrote it.
Yeah.
I wrote all 7 books except for 1.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So.
That's awesome. Have you done any other games?
I've never stopped designing. We just haven't published.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got, in fact, with James, one of these days, you'll see my game on that screen.
It'll be on our show, Tabletop Scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing that. I keep thinking about doing a, not a podcast, but a computer.
Like an actual play?
Like a YouTube. Yeah.
Something like that, so that I can get it out there.
Yeah.
But
Tabletop Scholar that we can link to in the show notes.
Yeah. Tabletop Scholar will be link everything that you hear that we are able to link to in the show notes. We will link to in the show notes.
Absolutely.
As long as someone reminds me. We go
Yeah,
through. We go
Travis,
through all the, yeah, Travis, who wasn't able to make the journey. He's the 5th nerd in the hills. Travis reminded me. We're gonna
doing this.
are there only 5?
Yeah, there's only 5.
Only
Only
5.
5 nerds in the hill?
Yeah, there's only
On
5.
5. Well, no. The hills have nerds. Is us 5. There are numerous nerds.
Okay.
Nerds in the hill are numerous. They are belligerent and numerous.
That's what Lee said the other day. We turned the lights off whenever we left.
And a good chunk of Pike County, Kentucky's gaming population is now in Columbus.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. What made you and your girlfriend decide to stop by the Guardtower West the day that I met you?
We actually did it. Like I said, we did a little getaway for Valentine's Day in February, and we everywhere we go, it's one of the things we always like, well, let's go find a game store. So we looked around and you guys had the best reviews. And so we were like, let's go. I heard a woo. So we said, let's go check it out. And we went to, it was your old location that you had, and loved it. She spent a lot of money. We bought a lot of games. And we went back to the hotel and played those games. And I think she got mad at me once or twice. But we had a lot of good fun. We enjoyed the store. I love the store now. I thought the store was great before, and the new store looks even better.
Oh, fantastic. I will say that the only reason I know about you guys is because his girlfriend told me. He would never told me.
Didn't say anything?
No.
I did. We walked in.
I don't said something, I'm sure.
We walked in, and she said, "You should say something about the podcast."
That's funny.
So
So he walked in and said, I have a podcast.
We have a podcast. There's a guy in Scotland really like.
she always gets on to me about networking. We went to some conventions recently, Lexicon, and they have River City Con in Louisville, and they're board game conventions. And we went there, and she's always like, "Go talk to him about the podcast."
Yeah.
I'm just an awkward guy, and I'm not as
She's
good.
correct. Aaron.
She is.
I mean, she is correct. Networking is 100% how you're going to make any kind of
We went to some D&D nights at the. We went to one D&D night. I say D&D nights. We went to a D&D night at the what's it? The Broken Throne.
Oh, we've been to two of those.
Have we been to two?
Yep. They've only done two.
Oh.
We went to.
So
Yeah.
nights.
And-
Back to nights.
To be sure, Josh goes just to talk to people about the podcast.
I go to patronize the Broken Throne and support our local gaming scene,
Good.
but also tell them about this.
Yeah.
Josh is 100% on the network.
So, where's the Broken Throne? That's a great name.
Isn't it?
Ah.
Yeah, it's a distillery, and they have a restaurant. They serve food and in town, and
Downtown Pikeville.
they
Yeah.
downtown Pikeville.
They're a restaurant, and then they have this like brew pub. I don't know if they actually do their
I
own
don't-
distillery.
they're
That's
still-
Dueling
they're
Barrels
a
is the
bar.
distillery.
Dueling Barrels is the distillery.
Yeah, they don't do that. I don't know if they do their own beer or not. Do you know?
I thought they were part of Dueling Barrels.
They
I
might
could be wrong.
Sure.
I don't drink, so I don't
honestly
know.
don't know.
I went because they had game night.
I think Broken Throne does do their own brewing.
Oh.
Dueling Barrels is actually something separate. That's all tech.
Oh, okay.
So, but they do their own because I know they do a little of like pineapple ciders and such.
Oh, okay.
However, they're shutting down actually.
Really?
What?
So they announced a couple of days ago they're shutting down.
Huh.
The ravages of small
Rough
business
time.
in our town. Yeah.
Rough time.
Way to bring the podcast down. Listen. Broken Throne is strong and thriving.
I would like to bring up something else.
Name is up for grabs.
Ask them how many of them have worked at their local game store.
Oh.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
3 of us.
Three of them. Say.
Josh might as well work there.
I have
He's
That's the nerds that work there.
I've done work at the local game store. I've never been an official employee, but I helped Nathan set up tables and do so when he was setting up their game room at.
What's the name of your local game store?
We have two.
Okay.
Actually. We have the Gaming Company, which is kind of large and run by our good friend Nathan. Then we have Page 3 Games, which is the oldest one in town. That's the one
That's the one we three worked at. Was
Yeah.
Page 3.
when we all grew up with, and I remember getting my first 3.5 D&D book from down there.
Is that when you started? You're such a baby.
We're talking about it was time to get prostate exams last episode.
With the Page 3 is when we all started working on it. It started as a comic shop out of the owner's garage.
He said he named it Page 3 because what was that? The comic started on Page 3.
Yeah.
And that's what he went with the actual comic itself.
Okay.
And that was our oldest there, and our good friend of ours, Pat, is the general manager down there, and he's actually on. If anybody's interested in hearing Pat, he's in episode 2, our episode on tabletop RPGs. He's our perpetual DM, and he was also the officiant at my wedding.
All right.
But yeah, then the gaming companies opened up here in the last just post pandemic, 2021, I think.
Okay.
They opened their doors, and it's it surprised me that Pikeville had enough people to support too, but they're growing and thriving. We get we're a town of 22,000 people in the metropolitan or urban Pikeville.
Yeah.
He's
Trying to come up with a proper address.
but urban, in urban Pikeville.
Urban
Yeah, in the place with indoor plumbing.
with
everyone's
pocket
got-
sunshine.
Yeah, but a town of 22,000 people, and then just you're surrounded hollers and counties and stuff. But we do a Marvel we love Marvel Champions. That's my favorite card game. We do a Marvel Champions night at the gaming company, and we bring in for just one little LCG. We'll have, I think on a good night we'll have 20 some people.
Yeah.
Down there playing, which is,
It's good enough.
that's big for where we're at.
Yeah.
For something that's not Magic, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going and thriving, and as more businesses come into Pikeville, which is happening, and regretful about the broken throne. I didn't know about that. That sucks.
Yeah.
But more businesses are coming in. It's kind of, I don't want to say gentrifying, but it's gentrifying. It's
You don't want to say it, but you.
but there's more things are opening up, more avenues for just out and about life in the town. It's growing,
Mhm.
right? It's growing and developing, and as that's happening, people are getting out. People are wanting to be part of communities, and our gaming areas, our game stores offer community. It's great.
I think a great segue for that. I wanted to ask Bob about what do you do to approach community around here? Is it like you said you work with specifically the community?
Yeah.
So what do you do to foster? What do you think?
Well, I'm in here playing games.
Yeah.
And networking with the people who are into playing games, and then I will set up sometimes in those 3 tables in the front of the store and waylay people and invite them to Paint Club, which is Monday nights, 6 to 8:30, just so you know. And then, but also with, I've also done games a couple of times and invited people to come and play. So we've done that. And then at the other store, at this point, I'm just going and putting in my face, and people know who I am there, and I play games, and I'm around talking to people that I've gamed with before, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's are you still a teacher? You said you're
44th year, like I said.
This is my 15th year of teaching. So
What do you teach?
I teach English, high school
Do you?
English.
I teach science.
Oh yeah, that's all.
Currently, I'm the science department in my little bitty school.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I teach chemistry. No, I don't. I teach physical science, ninth grade physical science, environmental science, and biology there. But in the 38 years I taught in Columbus, 35 years. No, it was 38 because I taught after I retired. In the 38 years I taught in Columbus, I taught every science that was offered grades 7 through 12. So I've been up the creek and over the mountain.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you invite students to come? Do they know your involvement with the?
I talk about it, and if they express interest back, I don't push it.
Right.
But if they express interest back, I tell them. And on opening day here, I had 3 former students who showed up, and kids I had at West High and at Cause, so on and so forth.
Now, you should know that as a company, we actually invite a lot of teachers who play D&D or using it to help children who particularly have social, maybe need a little help with their social skills, etc. So we have one teacher who does painting, and he does run out of the East store, and we supply them with all of their figures, their paints, and their brushes.
That's awesome.
We have a number of them that do D&D groups. Again, we supply them in our local libraries.
I wish I'd known about you guys when I was doing. So I worked for a daycare for. I did a STEM course for an after-school STEM course for school-age children, aged 6 to 15. I had about 26 kids, and we would play Dungeons and Dragons to learn statistics, group work, working as a group and things like that. So my younger kids would roll the dice and be adding numbers. My older kids would learn about probability and statistics as we were doing that stuff, which I know about you all.
That is fantastic. Yeah. So we also have Thurber House and our public libraries all run D&D groups for the kids in this area.
That is so
Particularly in some of our more challenging parts of our city. So we supply them with their dice We supply them. We usually don't have to supply them with books because the libraries have all the books, but we do supply them with books and bags, occasionally with figures if they need them. Any teacher, anybody listening to this podcast that needs support, we are here. This
How
is
about
what we do.
In the local area, we don't need to hear from teachers in Scotland.
Maybe not Scotland, but if you need something, you call me. Talk to Lynn. We'll take care of it.
Worldwide, they said, Colin.
But so we do that. We also during the day, our game rooms. We have 2 big game rooms, both of them over 2,000 square feet. We have all this open space. So we do a lot of homeschoolers. We have a homeschool Pokemon group. We had a whole homeschool D&D group. Wednesday nights we do for not young children, children who want to try out D&D. We used to be on Wednesday nights. I think it's still on Wednesday nights. Josh, forgive me if I have it wrong day, but Josh runs runs D&D for children who want to get into it. So they can all come. He has because it's become so big, he actually has dungeon masters who are all sort of trained and do well with working with children. We do a special needs D&D group. Actually, we do 3 or 4 of them. We have Arc Industries and I remember the name. There's 2 others.
Arc Industries is the local corporation that employs special people, so that they can have a place to work, and they do all kinds of stuff there.
So there are a lot of day programs, and there's one that specifically does a lot with us that I cannot think of their name, and I can even see their bus in my mind. Can't see the letters on the side of it. But so we have, Halfheimers. So we have these groups that they come in during the day and they come here. A lot of them come every 2 weeks. Some of them come every week. Some of them do board games. Some of them do D&D games. Some of them do painting. Whatever it is that they want to do, we are here to support them. A lot of times we will supply drinks. We will supply snacks. Whatever makes them more comfortable. Tons of homeschoolers come during the day. We also have, I'm leaving a group out. Let me think about this. So we have homeschoolers. So for like our Yu-Gi-Oh club, we have a young man named Charles who came every Saturday to the East Store. He wanted to get a Yu-Gi-Oh club going. And he does have some special needs, one of which is a pretty severe speech impediment. So he came up and asked if I could help. Well, we took over our son, Scott, and they started a Yu-Gi-Oh club. And he showed up every Saturday. Well, now at the East Store, we have 2 judges, and we actually have a very viable Yu-Gi-Oh group that meets there, started all because this one young man wanted to do this. And this group has a mixture of people all through the range who come and play Yu-Gi-Oh together. And I thought it was a very interesting thing that actually our son said once, was that when you're gaming, you're just a gamer. Nobody sees you as anything else. You're just a gamer. And it's great to have a place to come and be just a gamer. So, and we do that here with everyone. We are very inclusive.
That's great. People all the time at the store, I know when we worked there, they would always be like, man, I want to play D&D, but I can never find a group. I'm like, well, ask around. This is the place to ask. It's like a game store. And I don't know if any of them ever did.
I don't know if anybody ever did, but I mean, we even ran a Pathfinder Society like every Saturday there for a while.
And D&D Adventure Club.
Yeah, we would have, I don't know, like 20, 25 people show up for Pathfinder Society almost every week.
So you guys have an opponents wanted board, which we have to put up, by the way.
We do have
opponents wanted board.
No.
So that you can just, if you want to run a game, say, I'm going to run a game.
That's fantastic.
And then, I want to play a game or whatever.
No, they do that sometimes on the Facebook pages for the shops. But no, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And the house game group wanted, opponents wanted type thing.
So now that you guys have brought that out, that's a great segue. You're going to regret this. Sorry. You guys play D&D, right?
Yeah.
You all play D&D?
Mm-hmm.
So we were
What's
working.
D&D?
We, good position to take. So we are working with Extra Life, which is a group here in Columbus that raises money for Children's Hospital. And we are currently setting up to get a number of the stores here in Columbus to each put in one character, and these will have a total of 5, and they are going to fight a dragon. What's the name? Tiamat?
It's a customized Tiamat. It's going to be ran like an esports event.
So we're going to have that. Now, the way they're going to raise money is that everybody's going to have their champion. Each store will have their champion. And that champion will be outfitted by the amount of money they raise. They can buy different things for their champion to use. So then these 5 people will then go into their little meeting, which we are going to put on so that everybody can watch as it happens. And as they're going, if you're watching, you can then say, hey, so-and-so's getting low. I'm going to buy him a certain amount of healing, and you can donate money to Children's Hospital, and that will buy him healing. Or you can do it the other way. You can say, I think, the Guardtower's person's doing too well. I can put some money. I want him to be cursed a little. I want all of his roles to be negative too. So those things will be up for people to do.
Is there a link to this stuff?
That's what we're getting together. Yeah. It's probably it's going to happen at this point in the end of October. Okay. But the next step after that, whoever wins that, whoever is still alive and then has the most points, that store will get the trophy for the year, and that person will then move on to the next, in which we are going to go out and see if we can find other groups, either your store or you guys, to send somebody up to play in the next round. And we're going to try and grow it that way to hopefully within a number 4 or 5 years. So I am going to be calling you guys once we see how we do this to say, hey, we'd like to have you guys send one of you guys as a champion up here to play in this game.
Aaron is my champion.
Just in the goblin up.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
That's so amazing.
I think it sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an amazing. It sounds like a great time, and it's a great way for raising money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially to make someone fail at something.
Oh yeah.
More people are going to donate money to watch someone mess up.
Yes.
And I get that from watching these two Twitches, because
Yeah.
people will dump their wallets to just ruin their knots.
Crowd control D&D. There's a program that you can run called Crowd Control, and people can either set it up for like Twitch points or extra money that somebody can donate to you or whatever, and they control a game that you're playing. Like I was playing Mario, and it just deletes the floor after you step on it.
I told you, the one guy, when you were playing Resident Evil, the guy that kept donating to ruin, I think he genuinely didn't like you.
He may not.
Like you've hurt that man. You were scorned him.
Yeah. I mean, he was doing stuff like spawn and chainsaw enemies and everything just constantly.
He was making the screen black. Like for no one else that was watching Cody's stream had a good time at all. But that guy was having the best time he's ever had.
So
You're assuming it was just one.
It was one name, and it kept coming through that.
tells you
It tells you. Tell Cersei I want her to know it was me.
So hearing what you guys are doing for children and with the offering a space for them, offering this stuff to the local libraries, I'm a softie, man. That touched me. That's awesome.
I think it's amazing.
so good. So
You know what? It's fun. And these kids are, in fact,
I mean, that makes it
Tuesday
better.
night we have the cubing club coming. These are kids who play Rubik's cubes.
Oh.
And
Oh wow! My wife's cousin's kids compete in those.
Yes.
At doing that. And they're twin boys, and so it's creepy to watch them actually go at the same time. They're brilliant, absolutely phenomenally brilliant kids, but they're twins, and you can tell that there's something there, very normal.
Rubik's cubes just make me angry.
I used to back in high school. Me and my friend Brandon Brown. We competed all the time. It was like how fast you can solve the cube.
Yeah, I can solve one in
They're doing
3 years.
They're doing blindfold stuff.
I haven't done it.
They're
Never
going
did a
nuts
blindfold.
with
It actually,
There's a pattern. right?
I'm sure it's a pattern, but I always just change the stickers.
Yeah, there's a pattern. I actually picked one up not too long ago, and I got all the way to the bottom row, and I could not remember how to solve the bottom row.
You can do a Rubik's Cube. You can't read. You are Rain Man. Like, you are-
Don't judge me.
I love
My
you so
grandson
much.
does
You
them.
make me so mad.
He has serious ADHD, but boy, you give that kid a Rubik's Cube, and he just
Yep.
goes to town.
So with the cubing group, is that? I mean, do those
Just
kids
offered
compete,
our-
or-
Yeah, I think that yes, they do. This group does quite a bit, but we just offered them because we have this game room, and
Yep.
whenever it's open, so they needed a place to play. They were playing in the mall food court or something. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, because the library did something with the room they were using, and I'm like, look, you guys can come use it because parents can they're going to drop their kids off. Well, here it's a safe place.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can drop them here. They can play with the people who run the club. And so they're going to be coming here this Tuesday night. But that's part of what we are. We're here for the community, which is why I brought that up. You don't have to just be a gamer. We can help you out. We donate so much for raffles and people raising money. That's what we're here for. We know what it's like to need money and to be desperate.
And the community also makes the store. If you don't have a community around, you don't have a store.
Definitely. But we also, by the way, are online. Not all of our stock is online, but almost all of our stock is. So you can go to www.theguardtower.com and you can get on there and go and look at YouTube or all that sort of stuff. But you can also go into the store and if you buy $100 or more, then we also give you free shipping, just like Amazon.
Unless there's anything else you
No.
hit your throw in, because I mean anything that you guys are doing community wise or outreach wise, we'd love to talk about.
And we're following on Facebook, so anything you post, we're definitely
anything the Hills Have Nerds can do to help out.
We appreciate that.
Yep.
Nobody mentioned the studio we're sitting in.
I thought we did.
We're in a studio.
What, talking about the game store?
Oh yeah. We're
James. Okay, so we have this
talking about the studio.
Okay, and we are willing to, anybody needs to use it, it is here. We will cover that.
She means anybody because she let us in.
So,
I kept trying to find the camera I was supposed to look at.
well, however, the one thing we will not cover is editing. So anybody who has editing that they have to do their own editing or they have to pay to have it edited. But it is here to use and for our community and what they need.
That's why we're all moving to Columbus.
Columbus has nerds.
This. Yeah.
We love you, Nathan. Don't listen to this. You know you mean the world to us. Just Bob are so nice. Okay. So yeah, it's a phenomenal studio. Anyone that's watching this content or listening to us, you'll know the nerds sound a lot better than they normally do. That's because it's not just two cups tied together with a string that we typically do.
We're not in Aaron's 6x10 room.
You're right.
That's cluttered already with the games and the computer.
Not Aaron's swamp goblin cave shouting at each other. So just to tell you, so you said some stories. You okay with sharing some?
Sure.
Okay, so we found out and we'd spoken to you earlier about this, that you knew Dave Arnisen, and Gary Gygax. Have met Gygax a couple times in the you were running around. I mean, we got a ton of tabletop role players that listen to our stuff, and these names are household names. What you got any stories?
Yes.
Yeah.
My most memorable run-in with Gary was we were at, I think, AtlantaCon. I think we were in Cherry Hill, New Jersey at this regional show. There were probably 3,000 people there.
Now, Gary Gygax, for anybody that doesn't know, again, go to our episode 2 on the history of tabletop RPGs. We talk about TSR, Gary Gygax, Dave Arnisen, all the rich, wild history of Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games. But Gary Gygax is like the father of the tabletop role-playing game, at least in the nerd folklore, right? We refer to guys like Gygax and Leonard Nimoy and all these guys, like they are the tall tales, the folk tales, the Pecos Bills of the nerd world. So
there were some kids who were let out into the wild for some reason, and they kept pulling the fire alarm. And it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're going down the elevator for the third time because I was on the 13th floor and he was above me, and I know that because when I got on the elevator, there he was, and we went down. He was fuming. He was so mad because at that point Gary was probably 50s, 60s. Man needed his sleep, and he wasn't getting it. So,
Tell him about Dave Arnisen.
Dave Arnisen was the co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons. Dave, he was a really great guy. And Gary tried to close him out. They came out with a D&D. I told you the story earlier. They came out with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is now called 2nd edition. And they said, this is a different game. So, Dave, we're not going to give you royalties anymore. And Dave said, well, no, I don't think that's right because it's the same game. And he sued him, and then he won. And right after he won, they gave him an offer on his royalties. You know, we want to buy you out of this game. And he said some stupid amount of money. And he said, no, I don't think so. I think I'm just going to keep what I got. And his next royalty check, which came quarterly, was for more than they offered because the game was doing that well.
Oh, yeah.
It was valued in the 80s, late 80s, at somewhere around $100 million. To the best of my memory, this is what I recall.
It's like, this is what we recall.
Which is a lot of money.
Hey, and we talk about a lot of this stuff, the history of that on that second episode. If any of this interests anybody, go check that out. The audio quality on it's awful.
Tell me about Dave Arnisen, how he broke his back. Wasn't he jumped out of a
I don't remember.
helicopter?
I don't remember
He
how
broke
he
his
did it.
back.
And
Broke his back, and it really affected.
Vietnam.
Oh, no, that was a different guy. That was the Martian Metals guy.
Okay.
So are you familiar with Martian Metals?
No.
They used to advertise they would be the back page of the Dragon. If you go back into the 60s and 70s, you'll see Martian Metals, but it was always upside down because humans didn't have the right kind of vision, obviously. So their stuff was upside down. Yeah, he was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and he was flying in Laos. And a Quad 50 opened up on the helicopter. And he and one other guy were the only survivors. He fell about 30 feet and landed on his pistol on his back. So that wrecked his back. But the other survivor had fallen into the crotch of a tree and broken his pelvis. So he had to pick this guy up, and he ran from the Viet Cong for like 3 or 4 days before he was able to get to a place where helicopters were quartering a rice paddy. He's in the jungle, and he sees them. Viet Cong didn't have any helicopters, so he popped a green flare, which he said the Viet Cong never caught on. The green flare was the Americans' SOS flare, and they never caught on to it. But he was watching these helicopters again on these fields, and he realizes that they are about to light him up because I know what it was. I had it backwards. He started with his mirror, and he was flashing him with his mirror, and then they're coming after him to take him out because they think he's bad, and then he popped the green flare, and he was able to get out with this guy, and the guy survived. So
Awesome.
yeah,
That's too cool.
so they had a fire, burnt down their factory, and he took all of his money into paintball, and he had 5 paintball
Fields.
parks, in the Chicagoland area at one point. I haven't talked to him since, I don't know, 30 years. So.
Paintball and that stuff exploded.
Yeah, it did.
The late 2000, like mid to late 2010s. I mean, we played when we were kids, but it got real big through there. I worked for a military sim laser tag facility one time. So it was like actually live play Call of Duty type stuff. It had like M16s. Stuff. Like, people loved it. But that stuff was marketable.
Yep.
What was the name of the guy that ran Rail Partha?
That was Chuck Crane.
Chuck Crane.
Ran Rail Partha. He was one of the board members for years with Tom Meyer, who's a figure designer, and a sculptor that you might know. they were great. I used to travel with them because, like going up to Gen Con, we'd come down and we'd split off at Indianapolis. And I'd drive I-70. They'd take 74 home. Yeah, he was irascible, but once you got to know him, he had a heart of gold.
He did.
But yeah, he was Texas toilet paper. Do you know this term?
Rough and tough and takes no crap off nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I always heard it as a John Wayne toilet paper.
Yeah, same thing.
So
But,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lynn.
well, so he was must have been Origins or something in Texas. He was out of town at a convention. And it was raining and terrible up here. And I had 2 sick children. And I literally
She hated my life
I-
on those nights. Just so you know.
I had run out of milk. I had to take the 2 kids, cover them up with plastic raincoats, walk through the rain down the way to a store to get milk and hot dogs. And we came back, and that's what we had. And it was, I think, my 27th birthday. So he was rooming with Chuck, and he calls me up and he goes off about how they had this wonderful prime rib dinner and how great everything was. And I'm sitting here with 2 sick kids, and we've had hot dogs for dinner, and I'm like everything. So I say goodbye and I hang up, and then he calls right back because I can hear Chuck in the background because Chuck told him, "It's your wife's birthday. You forgot to tell." So he called me right back. So I'm so sorry. Happy birthday. But I could hear Chuck in the background. Then he was laughing. So,
It's only 40 years later, and I
Yes.
know she's forgiven.
yes.
Clearly.
That's fantastic. Anybody got any other
No?
questions or anything? What I would like to ask, were you going to say something? No? What I would like to ask, just so we'll close, we don't want to keep you guys too much longer. You got a successful business to run, right? We're sitting in the back of it, keeping you back here. If you could just give us just a couple of your favorite moments in your gaming lives or something that's happened at the store that's just one of your favorite, most memorable moments in being a nerd or associating with nerds or providing communities, a community interaction point to nerds, just something that really sticks out to you that's special. We've shared a lot, you guys have shared a lot of special moments already, but if there's anything else.
There was a game Avalon Hill did about colonizing the New World.
Mm-hmm.
It was just before they went under. Actually, they got bought out by Hasbro. I
As most do.
Huh?
As most do.
Right. And in this game, it's the last turn is coming up, and I'm looking at it, and I was in 4th place out of 5. And I thought, well, this isn't going well. And I looked at the game, and I thought, you know what? If I roll 5 6s in a row for colonization this turn, and then Pete, who was the guy who ran the store at that point, rolls a 6, the game will end because hurricane season will start, and I will win. And I did it. I rolled 5 6s in a row. But the best part of that whole thing is that Pete rolled the 6, the last 6 that gave me he was so mad. Because I was going to be dead last because they were going to butcher me if the game didn't end because I had just spread out so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
There's nothing worse than just you give your opponent because the perfect storm hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was glorious. It was like a 1 in 12,000 shot.
Oh yeah. That's
I'm sorry.
well, that's kind of like my thing in gaming that I've known for when we play any kind of game that has dice. I'm 1s or 6s, so it's one or the other. It's like I'm either incredibly successful or just.
Yeah, I'm gonna either be hot all night or I'm gonna be miserable all night.
And
You
there's
just
so many
need
times.
new
it's like,
dice.
well, I don't know. I kind of like it. I'm
If
like,
I can hook you up.
Only if there was a game store nearby that you could run with us.
I heard they have great deal.
I love that sort of story. I'm like, yes. The gamble. That's so good.
Lynn, you got anything?
So this, I guess, wasn't the game store itself, but I took my special needs son to Las Vegas. He saved up all his money, and when he was 25, we went to Las Vegas. So he is hard of hearing, and he has 50% hearing loss, and he's almost legally blind. but he's very outgoing. He makes friends with everybody. So we go to get on the plane. And he had sat down next to some guy, and he starts talking to him. And you could tell this guy's sort of a little. And all of a sudden, he turns to him and he goes, do you game? And the guy goes, well, yes, I do. And he goes, do you know the Guardtower? And the guy goes, well, yes, I've gamed there quite a bit. He goes, well, my mom owns it. Well, this guy, all of a sudden, they had something in common they could talk about. He goes, you own the game tower? You game? Well, the guard tower? You game? And all of a sudden, this guy was very friendly. And here it was, some guy in Las Vegas getting ready to come on a plane. It was like, oh my God, out of nowhere. And to me, it just showed that gaming is sort of universal.
Oh, yeah.
And once he knew that, and they had this in common, and he went to us all the time. So, and I travel a lot, and I cannot tell you how many people I've run into that were gamers in Columbus. And if you mention the Guardtower, and then they're like, oh my God, yes, I played there. And now you have common ground. And now people, so that was probably a big moment for me, because I am like, oh my God, we're in Las Vegas. So, and here's a guy who went to OSU and played at the Guardtower. So that was probably one of them. There are numerous funny times and things that happen here, with people who come to play that we really enjoy. But, I'm trying to think.
That's okay. We can save them for another time, or we can keep going into it.
Oh, no. I just think that the most important is when I see sometimes that little kid or sometimes that big adult who's found that one thing they've been looking for a lot, and they come up and they can barely part with it for you to ring it up.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, I've got this. So, but it's been wonderful.
You got
It's
me
been
a little bit
40
there,
years.
Lynn. You got me a little bit. That was but I tend to tear up when they learn the lesson at the end of the cartoons: don't eat stuff off the floor. Me and my daughter are the same way. At the end of
You eat stuff off the floor?
no, when they learn the power of friendship overcomes all at the end of a show, I get a little teary eyed.
Guardians.
And we watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and me and my daughter were just inconsolable.
And I got hit for laughing at him. So
You're a heartless monster. That's what you are. Again, you're unwell.
You didn't cry?
no.
I never do either.
I'm the one who cries all the time.
See, yeah, there we go.
We just talked about it in the one we just recorded was we watched Inside Out 2 recently,
Yes.
and I'm not a crier, but I have to say I teared up during that movie. It was
wow.
Before we go,
Okay.
Yeah.
since you're the only drinker in the group, I'm only talking to you.
Okay. I'm not a heavy drinker anymore, but I'm anymore.
Oh no, that's not that bad.
Okay.
On Tuesdays, I play with a couple of friends at their house, and we call it Bourbon and Board Games.
Okay.
Oh,
And in Columbus, you can get Whiskey War, which is supposed to be the best whiskey, the best bourbon produced in America. Right now, they just won awards at San Francisco for the third year in a row. So before you leave town, you should check that out.
Okay, I'll take you up on that.
Whiskey
Okay.
War. And now I'm done.
Elizabeth's my wife. Ignore what you just heard. I forget we're on the camera because I'm so used to while we're recording just audio, I look at the microphone when I speak. And so I'm sure people saw me do this as I'm speaking and looking like, wow, he's afflicted.
I just
No, they're just expecting her to reach out of the microphone.
Oh,
every
yeah.
time.
She'll. But guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you,
Anytime.
James. So grateful. Yeah, Ashley and Booth. Thank you guys so much for sitting down with us and giving us the opportunity to come down here and do this and to talk to you and to share all these great stories and the great initiatives that you're all working on and just the great, amazing history of the Guardtower. We're so grateful to be able to come down here and do this. And I think we're going to do one more episode here after we're done here, and then we'll be done for the evening. But,
sadly moving on.
but guys, does the Guardtower have anything, any kind of online presence? Where can people find the Guardtower? Where can people find you guys if they
www.theguardtower.com.
Mhm.
That is our website. It's our web store. You can find everything you need there.
So all of your social medias,
All our social media, everything you can find out about the stores, how to get here, all our history. You can go down through it. You can get linked to YouTube. You can link to Discord. You can, where it's all there.
Dude. You can find it there. And if you want to talk to us, if you got any questions for the Hills Have Nerds, ask us about the Guardtower and how our experience was here. Whatever you want to do. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email us at hillshavenerds@gmail.com. There is no the. That's hillshavenerds@gmail.com, or come on our Facebook at facebook.com/the Hills Have Nerds. You can also find us on YouTube, which if you're watching the video of this, you've already found us on YouTube. Or you're listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast fix. We're there. On YouTube, you can search The Hills Have Nerds and you'll see the Four Boys on the Mountain. And also, we have a Discord now. You can come join us on Discord and chat live with all of us in real time about the episodes, about the content, about what we've been doing, what's coming up, all that, so on and so forth. Tell us some of your favorite nerd memories or gaming memories. Have you ever been to the Guardtower? Bob and Lynn changed your life. Let us know. Tell us. And again, thank you guys.
Thank
And
you.
all our listeners, if you get a chance, come check out the Guardtower in Columbus, Ohio. You won't regret it, I promise you that.